It's episode 62, and we are going to share with you 5 things your guests might not care about as much as you think.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Rieg AD wedding show. We've always said that the most important thing on a wedding is the love between a couple. And sometimes a couple can get caught up in almost silly, insipid things that is only, they think it's important for the guests, but it is only important to them, and it's not necessary for them to actually stress the small stuff.
No, for the guests, it's not that important.
Yes.
We guess for the guests, it's not that important.
I should have worn a guest shirt.
That would have been appropriate. Okay, so we're going to start with the first one.
Yeah.
The invitations.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we've had Taryn.
Yes.
On the program, that's her business
From Rieg Graphics, yeah, specifically invitations.
Stationery. So we don't want to dismiss it.
No, we're not saying the invitations is not important.
Yeah.
What we are saying is, I think
the
brides and some of the couples get so caught up in the details of the invitation. My comment was here,
yes,
between Pantone 232C or 232CP, 2 different shades of pink, just for those who are out of interest. So you might think that's important, but that's not necessarily important for your guests. What is a little bit more important for your guests is that you choose the right location, you choose the right date, and you choose the right time. I think we've seen too many times where a wedding was scheduled and it just so happened to be on the same Saturday as some major sporting event, a Rugby World Cup final, Olympic Games, things like that. And what happens is your guests end up watching and listening on the phone or on the radio or in the car, which is more of a disturbance than anything else. So what we're trying to say is, yes, the invitations is important, but while you're busy debating the choice of color, also make 100% sure that you pick the right day and you pick the right time of day. And to pick the right time of day, your photographer, your videographer can often help you to just make sure that you plan that as well as possible.
Yes.
So we're not saying no invitations, we're just saying make sure you focus on the right part of the invitation.
On the right detail.
Yes. Okay, our second thing was programs.
You do get that brochure programs.
There's newspapers. I think they were very popular like 2018, 2019, where you have like a little newspaper
Yeah, that's very nice.
But I think what we observe, and I think that's what a lot of couples don't see, is we see what happens. So what often happens with a program or something like that, it's got nice info in, it's got beautiful photos, and it's probably cost you a lot of money to have it printed.
A lot of money because it's usually in color.
But the shocking thing is, as the guests leave the ceremony, I want to say 70 or 80% of those programs are left behind and are actually thrown out by the cleaners. Plus, if it's a warm day, they get used as a fan, which is very beneficial. And then I think the worst thing we've seen was one specific program that even had a timeline for the day, to the minute planned inside the program. And then the bride arrives an hour late at the ceremony.
Yeah, what does it help to have this meticulous
design program?
It looks like an Excel spreadsheet. It just looks like the perfect setup, and she's an hour late.
So I think that's very important. If you do something like that,
defeats the purpose.
I want to say great.
But
just know most people are probably going to leave it. They're going to read it, they're going to appreciate it, but they're not putting as much value in it, I think, as what one wants them to. And if you put the timeline in there, you yourself need to be on time, because otherwise the guests are going to sit there and they're going to start becoming uncomfortable, because the program said the wedding was going to start at 3. If the ceremony is starting an hour late, what's going to happen to the rest of the day?
Well, it's
so it doesn't set a good precedent. So just keep that in mind. Then traditions. Now, there's a lot of traditions and things that's kind of expected to happen at a wedding, and we're not saying don't do them.
Yeah.
But I think what we want to get to is things like the cake cutting, the bouquet toss, the garter, all those things are often, again, put in a timeline. And then just as the guests are really starting to enjoy themselves and the night is flowing nicely and everyone is partying and celebrating, the music gets cut and the MC says, okay, it's now time for the garter toss or the cake cutting or things like that.
Yes, it doesn't make the socialness of the kuier
and the guests don't really care about it.
No.
Most of them, I mean, we often hear them complain. So all they actually want to do is party and have fun.
Eat, dance, have fun.
And enjoy the. So we're not saying don't do that. We're always just advising that when you plan your evening, if you want to do things like that, get them out of the way as soon as possible.
Definitely.
And then once the people start dancing and they start enjoying themselves, let the evening flow.
Yes.
Don't stop it again to toss the bouquet or the garter or cut the cake. I mean, often the cake cutting is just the couple and us.
Yeah,
it's not even announced
really,
to the rest of the guests. You know, they continue with their dancing.
It's 10 times better that way. I mean, you cannot ask 100 people to stand around one cake table and watch you cut a cake. It's ridiculous. I mean,
it stops everything. And in true honesty, I think for most of the people, I'm not saying they don't care, but it's not that important for them at that stage of a night. So just think about it. And then another thing to add on to that, this point cuts both ways, but the guests are making their time available to celebrate your day with them. So maybe a better way of spending your time on the evening is to plan to be able to go around to all the tables and to go and say hi. Even if it's that family table that you don't want to visit, just pop by there and say hi.
Yeah.
I think that means more to the people,
yes.
having that 30 seconds of a minute quick interaction of a bride and groom than having any of these formalities.
Totally, I totally
because
agree
it's
with
that
you.
Personal connection between you and your guests who are there to celebrate the day with you.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. And then, interestingly enough, I just heard another very great idea or read it where the one girl said instead of throwing her bouquet, she had a bouquet made of her mother's favorite flowers and she planned to present it to her mom at the reception.
That is...
So
that's beautiful.
And it might carry even more sentiment, than just throwing it in the air and hoping someone catches it.
That is a beautiful gesture.
So think about something like that, which is something different, something unique. And I personally think that has more value than just throwing the bouquet.
Yeah, look, we're not against
not at all. No.
Traditions, but I mean, let's start our own positive love traditions in a wedding. I mean, I think some of the things we don't even know the reason why we're doing it.
There's another thing that I read. If you are presented with something at the ceremony or something that you have to do and you ask why and the answer is because everyone else is doing it, you should question whether you need to do it or not. Just think twice and maybe think how you can use an old tradition and make it a little bit more modern, personal. Just give it a different twist on it.
Yes, think about it.
Okay, so the next thing, number 4, is having a perfectly choreographed first dance. And the reason why we brought this up is we often see the stress it instills in one or both parts of the wedding couple.
It's usually the guy.
But
he's so nervous. Yeah, we've had girls as well. That was so nervous.
So what we want to say to you, if you're planning your wedding, what the people want to see, they want to see the two of you on the dance floor, dancing together, celebrating your love on your first dance. They're not expecting a choreographed dance. And if one of you can't dance or both of you can't dance or whatever the case.
You don't have to pull her off a Murray.
You can stand in the middle of the floor and just sway from side to side on the beat of the music.
And look at each other.
And people will look at it in awe.
Yes.
They don't need to see this massive show with the bride being thrown in the air and all sorts of things. And the poor groom has been stressed since he woke up this morning about this dance. So all we're saying is just think about it. Understand why your guests are there. They want to see the two of you on the dance floor. Even if it's for 50 seconds or for 60 seconds, just the two of you into one another, not stressing about anything. And then you can arrange with your family and bridal party to come and save you after a minute.
And can I just say, everything is, we are biased, so we are talking out of a photographic and cinematography point of view. If people stress over a dance,
you can see it.
They are biting their lip or they doing this, Shivit. They're not connecting with each other.
They're thinking about the next step.
They're thinking about 1, 2, 3 step out, 1, 2, 3 step in.
Yeah.
So the whole point of it gets missed. I mean, we've had one example of a couple that they didn't even dance. They were holding each other, they swayed forth and back, and they were looking each other in the eye. Now that photos will look like a professional dance, and the connection is just better.
And again, I want to say, like we always say, it's about the photos, but it's also not about the photos. If you were to look at the people's reactions there, it would obviously be all of awe and admiration for the love of it too, because it's almost more visible with them just looking into one another's eyes and swaying on the beat of the music. So we're not saying doing it, we're just saying if it's going to freak you out or it's going to stress you out, you don't have to do it perfectly. Just enjoy the moment and enjoy one another.
Yeah, no one knows how the steps must be.
No, do your thing. Then the last thing for today, the fifth one, and you might find this shocking, but we found over the years that guests don't appreciate wedding favors. Yes, it's shocking. And I think the wedding venues out there will back us up on this one. If you talk to the cleaning crews afterwards, again, I want to say 50 to 60% of the wedding favors stay behind on the evening. And that can be anything from the most beautifully crafted and cut out piece of wood or insignia or something like that to jar of homemade honey or jam.
The honey.
No, but they still stay behind.
Honey and olive oil.
They stay behind.
And peppermints
so
and sweets.
What we want to say is just consider the alternative. Yeah. What we saw a while ago is
that was awesome. I loved it.
At the wedding, the MC announced that there is no wedding favors and that the couple opted to donate to their favorite charity X amount instead of doing wedding favors.
That makes sense.
So we're not saying don't do wedding favors. We're just saying just be realistic with what you're doing. It often takes a lot of time. It costs a lot of money. So either make sure you do something that people will not leave behind. If in doubt, consider an alternative. Because unfortunately, like the programs and the things, the people just tend to leave it behind. I don't know why. I don't know if they forget or what the reason is, but it does get left behind.
Yeah, it's a lot of money that you could have spent on something that's more sensible, and to have a photo printed of yourself on a mouse pad. I don't think everyone wants to use it.
Yeah. So all we're saying is just think about all the little things that I'm not saying it's not important. Yeah, just give it a second thought and ask yourself, why are you doing it? Why are you spending all this extra time on it? And sometimes just don't stress about it. Look at the alternative and maybe find an easier way of doing it.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Don't sweat the small stuff, yeah.
Remember what it is all about.
Like we said in the beginning.
It is about two people loving each other, committing for life, to love each other in front of their friends and family.
Yes, and then celebrating it with their family and friends. Yeah. So the flow of that whole day is often more important than these little small things that you break up that flow with. So just keep that in mind when you do your planning. Enjoy your planning, enjoy your wedding, and that's it from us from today. Please give us a thumbs up if you like what we're doing, if you like the content, if you have any questions or any suggestions for things that we can cover in future episodes, please send us an email or comment below. Remember, when you subscribe and we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're giving away that Rieg AD Family Lifestyle, a couple shoot to the value of 3,000 Rand, as well as the nomination bracelet with 3 links from Gabriel's Nomination South Africa. All you have to do is be subscribed. So, once again, thank you very much for watching and see you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. Bye.